8:45 is the time in the studios of Q95 FM radio. Good evening everyone, and welcome. It's a different voice on the microphone at this time, coming from the Kudos to Our Heroes program here on Q95 FM radio, extending congratulations in a big way to Mrs. Levy. And Mrs. Levy is a former guest of the In the Spotlight radio show, and I was really pleased to hear all the wonderful things that were being said to her and about her tonight on the program. So, congratulations, Mrs. Levy. Such a beautiful lady. I remember Mr. G thinking that I was probably a student of the convent high school, when in fact, no, Mr. G, I'm a student of the Dominica Grammar School. But I'm always, excited when other persons from other institutions, in this case, get recognized for the wonderful work that they've done. So congratulations again to Mrs. Levy and the Kudos to Our Heroes committee for doing such an excellent job with recognizing those Dominicans who have and continue to contribute to the development of our country. In this case, this lovely lady here, she molded the minds of the young girls who have grown to be professionals in one way or the other, and recognizing the contribution that she has made to where and who they are today. So again, congratulations, Mrs. Levy, and congratulations to the Kudos to Our Heroes team here at Q95 FM radio. It is time now for the In the Spotlight radio show, and it's always so nice, such a pleasure. It puts a smile on my face, even after having gone through a very long Monday day. I'm still always eager and excited to be here because, this human interest show called In the Spotlight, we discover such amazing things of our people, somewhat with the same ideas and the same concept to some extent of the Kudos to Our Heroes initiative. We get the guest here, and by the way, Mrs. Levy has been a guest on the program, and she was quite an amazing guest as well. So we come here on a Monday night, and we have Dominicans from all walks of life, those who are based overseas in some instances, and they come to Dominica, and we try our best, to get them to share their stories and the discoveries that we make in terms of learning about these persons. It is just so fulfilling and so exciting, to hear from them. So I hope that you're ready to roll for another amazing guest on the In the Spotlight radio show. And this guest and I were speaking, and we're saying, oh boy, how much of it are we going to get? We're going to get through, but we will get through as much as we possibly can on tonight's program. So again, welcome to all listeners or viewers on the In the Spotlight radio and TV shows Facebook page. If you're joining us from there, we are happy to have you. If you're live on Q95 FM radio, we're also pretty happy to have you. Our social media platforms, just sharing with you, we have the In the Spotlight radio and TV shows page that you should follow or like, whatever the case might be. We have the group by the In the Spotlight radio show. If you look for it, you'll see In the Spotlight radio and TV shows fans. We also have a YouTube channel, and this YouTube channel is under the name Fidina F. Frampton. So once you search for that, please subscribe to our channel. And we recently just added an In the Spotlight radio and TV shows Instagram page as well, so we encourage you to follow us there. we welcome any support you provide to the program in any way possible, but we just want to do a few acknowledgements. We want to acknowledge Q95 FM radio for allowing this platform here on a Monday night to share the inspirational stories, in most cases motivational stories of our guests. We thank Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited for providing us with our Twapito water. We thank Callaloo House Restaurant. So we've already confirmed for tonight. So Callaloo House will be providing each of us with a warm meal once we're done here. So you can take home and share with my former teacher. You know, I'm learning things tonight. I didn't realize that was my former teacher's husband that I'm interviewing tonight, but I'm pretty excited to hear that. So good evening to you. I'll say Windiff tonight just because I'm not in the classroom and you can't give me a demerit or detention, okay? We thank Dominica News Online for supporting, Jordan Jerome and friends and supporters and fans of the show. We appreciate all of you in every single way that we can speak to. So thank you again for joining us tonight. We didn't mind giving Mrs. Levy a few extra minutes from our program, but we are now ready to roll, and we're coming back right after this. And we are ready to roll. 6 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I was so happy that, you know, when I went home this evening, I was able to take a very, very short nap, which could put me in a very, very right frame of mind, you know, take away a little of the tiredness, and that we could have a wonderful program here tonight on the In the Spotlight radio show. Our guest is here tonight, and I want to say a special good evening to Yvonne Alexander of the Dominica Cancer Society. And while we are going to hear the entire story of our guest tonight, it is in fact the month of September is observed as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and my guest tonight is a survivor. So we will hear that story, but there is so much more to my guest tonight that we're going to talk about. This is just a drop in the bucket. Good evening to you, Mr. Patrick Henderson.
Good evening.
How are you?
I am fine.
You are
I'm
fine.
happy to be here.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Go ahead.
Good evening to all your listeners out there.
Including my former teacher.
Including your former teacher.
Yes. I hope she's
I don't want to get in trouble because...
You don't want to get in trouble. Good evening to her, and I hope that she's tuned in and locked into the program wherever she is tonight. So, Mr. Henderson, thank you for being here. And we're going to get straight into business because our time is already, upon us. And we're going to get straight into this. Let us start off first by getting to know you a bit and getting to know a bit about your background. Est-ce que vous êtes Jean Guambé?
Oui, monsieur Jean Guambé.
Oui, nous sommes parlé un petit peu. En petit. Every guest who comes here and talks about where they're from, Mr. Henderson, I always like to hear from them what they think about their community and why it's so special to them.
Well, your community is where you were born.
Yes.
It better be special.
Yes.
You've got good memories, even if I don't live there again, but Granby is still close to my heart. It will always be, and whenever they need my assistance, I'm always available for them. I don't go up there as often as I used to, but anytime they need me, I'll show up.
Granby is close to your heart.
That's correct.
What part? What part?
Well, in Mabushi, I'm way down by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
That's where I am.
That's where you are.
I'm right across the ravine from the Catholic Church.
And you have a very popular last name from the community of Granby, which is Henderson, and we're talking about people like Felix Henderson, Michael Henderson, and all the Hendersons who come from Granby. My grandmother was a Henderson, Iselin Henderson, from the village of Pisco. It's a very popular last name.
Very popular. By the way, most of the younger folks in Granby know me as Jockey.
Jockey!
Instead of
Oh,
Patrick Henderson. So sometimes you say Patrick Henderson, say, well, who is this person?
Yes.
Jockey, yeah, we know him. But that's the name that most of my friends call me by.
Jockey.
Yes.
Tell me a little.
Just a nickname that
just
a
a nickname?
relative of mine gave me. Yes.
It just came from
A relative of mine.
a relative of yours.
Oswald Henderson.
Oswald Henderson gave you the name Jockey.
Yeah.
All right. It's stuck. So you're saying most of the young people in Granby.
When I say young, people in their maybe their 50s, and we're talking about 20s. We're talking about people in their 50s and their 40s.
So the young people in their 40s and their 50s you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
As young people?
Yep.
In Granby?
Yes.
Who know you as Jockey? I clearly understand, Mr. Henderson. So tell us a bit about growing up in Granby.
Growing up in Granby was good. I mean, where I lived was way down by the church, very quiet down there, and I loved the environment. I made quite a few friends. I was an acolyte, so I met quite a few of the guys from Lally, like guys like Augustus Sentinel, Colin Perez in Germany, Sherman Del Sol, and a whole bunch of them. We were all acolytes, and our parents were involved in the church. So we were always close to the church. And from acolyte, we were into youth matters, cricket.
Let's go back to the acolyte part of it. A lot of people who we often hear, are acolytes. Somewhere, something may have been whispered in the air in terms of the priesthood. Nothing like that for you?
Yeah. Well, we see when you go to SME also, I went to SME. From Granby Boys School, I went to SME. And you got Vocation Week, and they talk about being a priest or being a brother. So you have that influence there, but it does not mean that everyone sticks to it. The idea of priests or brothers not being allowed to get married did not go down well with me. So that was out the window.
That was definitely out the window. Back to from moving on from the acolyte days, talk some more about the youthful days and growing up.
Well, we some of us who were in this acolyte business, as we grew older, early teens, we kind of came together. We had a cricket club, and we used to raise funds through what we call afternoon house parties. Band Ebonites, was a band called Ebonites in Granby. So we would run the bar, make some money, and keep our cricket club going. This cricket club evolved into a basketball club with a combination of, well, it really started with the YCW. The basketball started with the YCW movement, Young Christian Workers. I was a member of that with Willie Fevrier and Michelle Roberts and a whole bunch of other guys, Several Grell. And so most of the guys were a little older than me. But we started the basketball court in Granby by the church. And then gradually, some of the other guys who were the acolytes, like Perez and so on, came on. And we formed a basketball team and ended up participating in the National League in town way back in the, what was it, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah.
That far back?
Yep.
My goodness. So did the cricket element continue though?
No, we dropped it.
You dropped cricket?
Yes.
And you took on basketball?
Basketball.
Okay.
So there was the first basketball program in Granby was started by us. So we extended the court, built the full court, and we had teams from town come up. Cardinals, Caroni Cardinals, Pastic, Willie LeBlanc, Kiwi and those guys used to come up all the time and just play with us because we were new to the game, they were more advanced than us, which was good. Lots of people turned out for those games at the churchyard, and then that encouraged us to register in the league, and was from then on we just moved on.
So that was some sort of social gathering for the people of your community,
yes,
and entertainment as well.
Yeah.
So that was good that your club was able to do that. Did you, in terms of the work for the court and all of that, was that from the funds that you raised, or you got support to do that?
The fund we raised was, but that's when we had a cricket club. But for the basketball, how did we do it? I can't remember though. I really can't remember how we got it, but we did it in phases. It was a little piece at a time, so it wasn't like we did a full court. So we got some money somehow, and I mean the church also helped.
Okay.
I think when Father Moody, who is deceased now, was there, he did help us in.
I remember Father Moody. Yes, definitely. So let's talk some more about your youthful days in terms of school. What was school like?
Which one, primary or secondary?
Oh. Some people, listen, Mr. Henderson, some people come here and actually tell me they remember their preschool days. Not me, don't remember that. But we don't have to do preschool. Let's talk about just
primary school. Yes. In Granby, we had a Granby boys' school and a Granby girls' school separated. So I went to the Granby boys' school. The principal is Mr. John Rose, what I can tell. It was a bit challenging, but it was fun. I always remember I was picking mangoes. There were mango trees in the yard. They put it under the stage to ripe, and then we'd share it. I remember our school garden where we would grow vegetables, and that also would be shared. So these were good foundations for us. I remember playing cricket for the school team. We played Shatu at one time in Granby.
What is Shatu?
It was, you know where the Wesley High School has this building down by All Saints?
Yes, I know that building.
This was where that primary school was called Shatu.
Oh.
I remember George Carrington was a goalie for Dominica. He was a pace bowler at the time.
You say Shatu?
I think that's what they call it.
Is it a game?
That's what they call the school.
Oh, that's what they call the school. Yeah. Okay.
And we played at the center. This is where the cricket pitch was. It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And in those days, Mr. Henderson, there was no cell phones.
No.
There was no TV.
None of that.
There was none of that. Right. And so
we socialized more. You got together. You sat by the roadside and chatted. You read. You formed clubs. I remember in Granby they had a library. They had a reading club. Guys like Pierre Charles and Jumi. They had a whole group of them who set up this work-study program. And the younger generation at that time were very conscious politically, so they read a lot. And they were eager to learn more and more. And they had lively discussions. And not everybody agreed on things, but the discussions were very lively and healthy for them. So it was good. It was a good period for us.
It was a good period.
Oh yes.
So you went to primary school.
Yeah.
And then.
Then from there I went to St. Mary's Academy.
Mm-hmm.
At that time you had to pay. It was not free.
It was
not.
not.
School, no. You had to pay. And
that's the first person who has come on and shared that bit with me.
Yeah, there was a certain. You had to pay a certain amount. I can't remember how much it was.
Right.
It wasn't a large amount,
but you had to pay something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, their school fees today. Is it the same or?
Probably, maybe it was the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
And I stayed in town for a short while, but didn't like it.
You didn't like being in town.
No.
What did you miss from?
It's a different lifestyle. It's your town. You're closed in, so to speak. The countryside is more open. You're not living. You're living at somebody's house, so it's more cramped. You miss your friends at home. So I moved from there. I went to stay with my sister for a while.
Where was your sister, in town?
Yeah, she was in town.
Okay.
And then I moved back to Granby and started going up and down every day.
Okay.
So we had Lord Tokyo, who was our driver.
The Californian?
Yeah.
Oh.
Tokyo was our driver. And that was most of my school years was spent going up. I lived for a short while at the hostel. Yes, in the hostel also.
So SMA and the grammar school had a hostel.
Right.
SMA also had one.
Yes.
Okay.
It's close to where they have the creche.
Okay.
Right. Close to the center.
So was that your final destination in terms of where you stayed?
No, I moved. I think I moved from there back to Granby, did my up and down, and then when I graduated from SMA, I started going into sixth form. Started there, and then they needed somebody to replace Justin Simon, who was the history teacher. So they asked me whether I'd replace him, and I said sure. And it was the arrangement you had in this time was that you taught there for a lower salary for 3 to 4 years, and then in turn you were given a partial scholarship to go to Iona College in New York. So I took it.
You took it.
Yeah.
So before we get to heading off to Iona College, during your stint at St. Mary's Academy, you started off by staying at probably a friend of the family's home in town. Then you went going back and forth, then to the hostel, then back and forth again. How did that affect you and even your ability to learn and to do so in a...
I don't know, I can't think of anybody that affected me. I really did not dwell on that. The fact that I was at home was good, was comfortable, I liked it. The fact that I could be with my friends was also a positive thing. So I never really thought of it in terms of it affecting me in a negative way.
Tell me about the days at St. Mary's Academy. What was your experience like?
It was, I guess, the same as most people. You make new friends. You get involved in sports. I mean, we had a lot of programs. You had a good sporting program. You had a glee club. You had tumbling. So there were a lot. Yeah, there had a lot of.
You had what? Tumbling.
Tumbling, yeah.
You mean like cartwheeling and so?
Right. They had.
That was a
St.
sport?
Gerard's Hall. They had this there. Yeah, a lot of kids were involved in that.
Okay.
Acrobatic.
See, I'm learning.
Yeah, you had the debates. You had debate societies. You had theater. And you had your regular sports: football, basketball, cricket.
Which ones were you a part of?
Basketball. I was in the house of St. George's, and I played basketball. In fact, this is where I started playing basketball, and from learning from the brothers, and then those of us who were there decided to set up something in Granby and start taking it up there.
Okay. So generally, would you say that you had some good days at the St. Mary's Academy?
Yeah, I have no regrets. I enjoyed my time. I'm still in touch with some of my friends from SMA days.
That's important.
Yeah.
Okay, so move on from SMA. You were telling us about the opportunity to go off to study.
Yeah, I taught at SME for 4 years.
You did?
Yeah.
What did you teach at SME?
French and history, first, second, and third form.
Oh, tu parles français?
Un peu.
Un peu?
Oui.
Mais où t'es qu'à teacher?
Oui. this was between 1969 and 1973. It's a long time ago.
Yes.
So that's gone from me now.
Right.
But during this time, I also, I think Sifle Mutai approached me to be a member of the group. So I joined the Sifle Mutai Choral. And then I think about a year after that, the Grande guys began, the scouts and the girl guide in Grande, led by James Alexander, we call him Skipper, he passed on. They formed this choral group also.
Was it the former principal?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
They formed this choral group and asked me to help them since I was a Sifle Mutai.
Right.
So I was helping them in Grande, but also performing with Sifle Mutai.
Why Sifle Mutai? I mean...
Because at the time I was living at the hostel, or at the brother's house, because for the Felix, after the problem at SME, for the Felix came in, and some of us lived in the brother's house with him. So that was at that time that I became a member of the Sifle Mutai Choral.
Okay. Did you sing with them? What did you do?
Back well, we had the boys, the men's section, the choral section, and I also did some drumming.
Okay.
William Senhouse was the main drummer and I was the secondary drummer. And we cut our first album in Trinidad and the second one in Barbados. Second one in Barbados. Jill Lawrence was the leader.
Any contributions to those?
No. Just drumming and backup singing.
Drumming and backup singing. So which ones did you write the songs for?
Génitoire Choral.
Génitoire Choral.
That's right.
That rolls up nicely off the tongue. So that was the one that you assisted
right.
in developing and building.
Right.
And birthing, if you want to say.
Right.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about Génitoire Creole.
Génitoire Choral was a group of Boy Scouts and Girl Guides who came together under the leadership of James Alexander, Skipper, to form this group. And they began practicing and gathering all the traditional songs from the elders. We used to go and record them and then practice them. And then gradually, after a period of time, they decided, well, we need to put this thing on record. So they began preparing for their first recording in 1973. I remember we went all over the country raising funds, doing shows. And by the time I left in 73 summer, so by the time I left, they were getting ready to go to Barbados to cut the first album.
Okay, so you were not part of that?
No.
You had to go on to other things.
But they did send me a copy of the album, the autographs.
And you did contribute some songs to that?
I contributed 2 songs to the first album and 2 to the second album.
What are the songs?
The first album was it Mama Mama?
Okay.
And Dory.
Dory. Okay. Do you remember for the second one?
Second one was Free Your Mind and Isabel. No, what is it? Was it Isabel? No. Free Your Mind and I can't remember the second.
It does not matter. The point is you made a contribution, so you're part of the history of Génitoire Choral. So I'm already beginning to see an individual who is community oriented and is passionate about community and people and making a contribution, a solid contribution. So we're already seeing that picture unfolding as it relates to your story. But you would have to leave for some time. Yes,
I left in the summer of 73. Because my dad passed on in January of 73 and I left in the summer of 73. And I went to New York, to Iona College. And there were lots of other guys from Dominica here there, so they took me in. And I spent for 6 years at Iona doing a bachelor's and a master's. And by then...
So you killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, I just went through.
Right through.
Yeah.
And
so I did, the bachelor's was in double in sociology and psychology, and the master's was in education, with a focus on social studies. So when this was done, we stayed on for a while because when it was in school, when she was finished, we decided to come back home and I got a job teaching at the Teachers College, Social Studies.
So you came back after a bachelor's in sociology and psychology and a master's in education. And you came back home to Dominica.
That's correct.
Were there any plans to try to make it on the other side, staying there?
Yes and no. I think my heart was still at home. I felt I needed to contribute some of what I had learned here rather than up there, because I was offered jobs up there, but I decided I wanted to come back. And furthermore, I wanted to be closer to my family. Lambert, my brother, Michael's father was down there. My mom was still there. So I missed them and I really wanted to. So I wanted to come back and bond with them again.
Okay.
So that was good. So I spent 2 years and came back, settled here, spent 2 years at Teachers College. But they did not renew my contract. So
they did not renew your contract? Why?
I think it was political. I'm from Grande.
Politics.
So Grande
is fine. It's
way. Grande. Because at the time too, the Freedom Party was in office, and Pierre Charles was.
But that should have nothing to do with you coming back with a master's degree.
I understand.
And a bachelor's degree and contributing and teaching our children. I just don't get these things. But anyway.
Every disappointment is a blessing. So.
Oh, it turned out that way for you?
Yeah. So,
all right.
I mean, I'm still in touch with some of the teachers that I taught, and many of them became principals and so on. We're still all good friends.
Okay.
I left and I went to work with Save the Children Foundation. Crispin Gregor was the director. He had been begging me to come and join him. So I came in and then I was responsible for the program in the Kalinago territory, Wesley Marigot up there. And we did that for a couple
and
years.
what was the purpose of Save the Children? Or the objective?
It was a community development organization program. We worked in the Kalinago territory and the Marigot area in water projects. We built the Kabe, first Kabe that they had, the Mwena. We helped with vegetable gardening, backyard gardening, and the sponsorship of children in education.
Okay. And that type of sponsorship involved what at the time?
One was to help with school for some of them. And,
to provide what they needed?
Yeah, like books and so on. Yeah, but the bulk of the program focused more on community development, which was more agriculture, the water program, health. It was kind of an integrated kind of program, and we really emphasized community empowerment. So the programming was just like SPAT. SPAT was the best NGO we had in Dominica, and it was all about empowering people to do for themselves rather than you doing for them. So whatever we did, we engaged the community. It was their decision, the things that they wanted to do. So there's a strong sense of ownership on their part. And I enjoyed this. That's why I say it was a blessing in this.
Working with Save the Children.
Yeah.
Was that a US sponsored initiative? Yes.
US. There was a Canada Save and US Save. So Doreen Francis was the one running Canada Save.
Okay.
Which became Dom Save.
Yeah. So you did that for 2 years. You enjoyed it in the Kalinago territory. What would be the next step for you?
Well, after about 2 years, I think the government kind of closed down the program. They did not renew the contract.
Okay.
So we had to shut down, and then we formed our own NGO called Development Alternatives. Christine, myself, and our accountant called Angie Hippolyte. And we continued some of the work that Save the Children was doing. And one of the projects we had started was a hard court in Marigot by the school. So we had to complete that. So on the Development Alternatives, we completed that. And then we did some work in the Kalinago territory, into cultural preservation. We were doing interviews with the Carib elders about their own oral history. We did about more 20 plus interviews.
Were these video interviews?
They were video and audio, so we transcribed some of them. The videos, I think, as Paul Gregory had them. I think by now they were at SPAT, and I'm pretty sure they don't know.
It would be so nice. I mean, social media is what it is today, I mean, it would be so good to see some of that on social media, so we can, you know, and that would be like 20, 30 years ago or more, eh?
Yeah. In fact, one of the last ladies was Charles Williams' mother. She, I think, Gabriel Christian did a story on her.
Okay.
When I saw this story, I said, "But that name sounds familiar." And I went back into my archives to look at the transcribe. We had transcripts of the interviews, and hers was there. And she was, I think, she's probably the last one was alive of those we interviewed.
And that you seem to have enjoyed as well.
Oh yeah.
And you worked. Did you work closely with SPAT for that?
Well, for that project, we had some kind of collaboration with SPAT and the Kalinago Council, because Gregory was the one doing the videos for us. So yeah. But the bulk of the work was done by myself and Christine and Gregory.
Okay.
And Garnet Joseph and Kent August.
So you did this, and as I said, you know, it would really be good to see some of those videos show up on social media, so we can, you know, get to understand most of the Kalinago history, because the stories these people must have shared, you know, priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless, you know. So let's hope at some point, you know, we will get to see some of that, hopefully. Yeah, so from that, you know, where did you...
Okay, so I spent about a year or two running development alternatives. Then by then funding was running out because we depended on funds from outside. And I was on the board of the Granby Credit Union, because while I lived in Marigot, I still continued to help Granby. And then something went wrong at the credit union, and they asked me to come in and manage the credit union for them.
Okay, they had some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 3 years.
Okay.
And then I also at that time I think was doing a consultancy that Ron had asked me to do for a group in Puerto Rico on NGOs and the sustainability of NGOs in the Caribbean. So I did that. And then I began doing training for Pisco in community development and youth and community development. So I did training for them I think for 1 year. And then the following year, David Edwards, who was the APC, the director for here, was leaving to go work with the government. So they asked, I filled in his position as the Associate Pisco Director for Dominica.
Okay.
Stayed there for 18 years and then
18
retired.
years.
Yes.
And then you retired.
Yes. Oh, I did something.
Tell me.
While I was up in New York, I did work at a bank.
You worked at a bank in New York.
So while I was in school, I was also working because I had to pay my rent and everything else. So I worked at this bank for 11 years. As an operations officer eventually there.
An operations officer.
Eventually. From supervisor to section head. Section head supervisor to project manager to operations officer.
For 11 years.
Yeah.
You worked in a bank.
Yeah.
The Pisco element, I know at one point, you know, Pisco program was very prominent in Dominica, and we had quite a bit of Pisco volunteers coming in to support us. At the time that you were there, what did you understand as the role of the Pisco program?
Well, the Pisco program basically is one whereby the U.S. government sends U.S. citizens overseas to collaborate or to assist in development issues. And each country, their priorities are different. So in Eastern Caribbean at the time, it was youth and community development. So Pisco came in with volunteers. Most of them were young from college, and we placed them in communities or in organizations where they could assist them in their program and implementing the programs and training. That's basically what it is. It's a collaborative kind of thing. It's each one learns from each other, because the volunteer comes in, learns from the counterpart with whom he or she is working, and the counterpart also learns from the volunteer.
And you got involved how?
I managed the program here.
How did you get involved?
How did I get to be involved managing it?
Yes.
Well, I said I was doing training for them.
You were doing training for them.
When the vacancy came up for the position, I applied.
Okay.
And then they hired me.
And they hired you and gave you that job.
Yeah.
In terms of the work that the Peace Corps did in Dominica on the at the time that you headed the organization, what were the various areas that they supported with?
It was mainly, we started off in, as I said, youth and community development. So they worked with youth groups, helping them with training in different life skills, in physical projects, helping them develop physical projects in their communities and looking for funding to implement those projects. In education, because they would give extra lessons to students in their community. And what else? I think these were the main areas of focus. But and this changes over time. So over the 18 years, it did transition into education. And right now, the focus is, I'm not there again, but I know the focus is on literacy in the primary schools.
Okay, so we still have Peace Corps volunteers coming to Dominica.
Yes, there was a break over COVID. They shut down the program globally, but they're now gradually coming back.
They're gradually coming back. Do you think that's a program that's beneficial to the people of Dominica?
Well, you got to ask the beneficiaries. I remember a story of a guy who in Antigua who a volunteer worked with him, and eventually the guy in primary school, I think it was, he eventually became an attorney and connected with the volunteer who was in Antigua with him and sent a ticket for him to come and visit him in Antigua.
Oh wow.
So you have those kind of things where there are linkages that are formed between volunteers and community partners, which lasts for a very, very long time. So when I get married and stay here.
I've heard.
Yeah,
I've heard. So overall you think it's a good program?
Yeah.
And should be continued?
Yeah.
In Dominica? All right. So you decided that after that was it for you for the formal world of work?
Yeah, for the formal world of work, yes. Yeah.
And that was how long ago, Mr. Henderson?
That was 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
So that was what, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
So what do you do now?
Oh, well, after I retired, we decided, when my wife's mom passed on, we decided let's go spend some time with our son in New Jersey. So we spent some time up there with him because he had not been here for a long time. And after spending a couple of years up there with him, we came back now. And we back here, and I do my gardening, I do my reading, I continue doing my research on Dominican, the history of Dominica and Kalinago people and Granby and the Geneva Estate history and all this other kind of stuff, both Crispin and I.
Okay.
And
nice.
I continue to work with my communities. For example, the community I live in is a community called Northend.
Northend. So you up that way?
You know Northend?
Yeah. Well, Marigot way, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's Northend is before Marigot.
Before
Marigot.
Marigot.
When you live Big Bay, it's like climbing the hill. Small community, 50 people.
50 people.
But very good community. They're very together. In fact, when we came back, they were doing barbecues to raise funds to fix the road going up to the village. And we joined them, we supported them.
Of course you did.
Oh yeah. And seeing that they were so positive and involved in it, they were not waiting on someone to do for them. So they raised funds, and on the Community National Day of Service, they bought cement, we got tarish, we got a mixer, we fixed the road.
Well, if you could, man, everybody played their part.
Yes, I'm very proud of this little community.
Earlier on, when we were speaking about you going off to study, I recall you mentioned we came back. So I'm referring now to your wife.
Yes.
Were you already married?
We got married up there, yes.
You got married up there. So tell us a little bit about, just you and family and your wife and children and so on.
We got one son.
One son?
Yes.
And he's outside of Dominica.
Yeah, he's in New Jersey.
Okay. And Windif, at the time, what was she before Henderson?
Riviera.
Riviera. At grammar school, she was already Henderson?
No.
She
Yes.
Yes?
She's already Henderson, yes.
Miss Henderson.
Yeah.
Miss Henderson, I remember being.
Yes.
Yes, but just tell us a little bit about her and, you know, what life has been like with your wife.
Well, she's my better half.
Better half.
Yeah, it's been good. We've got a good. We have been together for 43 years.
That's a lot of years.
So yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, and as we get older, we enjoy it more.
That's a lot of years,
Yeah.
Mr. Henderson.
Yeah.
All right.
I promise I wasn't going to talk too much about that, so you're going to get me in trouble for this.
I'm not going to, you promised her, okay, if you promised her, I'm not going to probe you any further. I do not want her to not be very happy. 9:30 is the time in the studios here at Q95. Our guest in studios is Mr. Patrick Henderson. We've learned quite a bit about Mr. Henderson and especially his involvement in community, his career. You can tell that, you know, he's somebody who is very much interested in community work, you know, focused on that kind of thing. And he's sharing with us. We will just take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk some more with Mr. Henderson. Keep it locked. This is the In the Spotlight radio show. Remember, we still have to speak to Mr. Henderson about his survival story of prostate cancer. September is the month observed as Prostate Cancer Month, and so we definitely will be talking to Mr. Henderson about that in just a while. Keep it locked. We're coming right back. .34 is our time here in the studios of Q95, and as we mentioned before, the month of September from the 1st to the 30th is observed as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. The goal is to share information about prostate cancer and raise money for research to find better treatments and the cure for this disease. I've had several guests come through, especially during this month and the month of October, to share their stories with us with this dreaded cancer that has in some way or the other impacted our lives, whether directly or indirectly in one way or the other. I think the last guest that I had here, Mr. Henderson, who shared this story with us was Father John Lewis. So Father John Lewis was here and shared his story with us in terms of prostate cancer. Another friend who's been on the show, actually, when he saw that you were coming on, also shared with me that he's also a prostate cancer survivor. And I really applaud men when they come here, because you always find it so much easier for the ladies to come and share their stories. And we've had some stories from the ladies here as well, especially in relation to breast cancer. For the gentlemen, sometimes it takes a little bit of persuasion. So I'm not sure if you had to be persuaded, but I'm happy that you are here to share with us this evening. For those of us who don't know, Mr. Henderson, what is prostate cancer?
Prostate cancer is cancer of the prostate, which is the gland in the body that produces the fluid that transports the sperm at ejaculation. It's a small, it's a very small gland, and what happens sometimes is that the cell on the gland may grow abnormally. When it starts growing abnormally, it can become cancerous, and it becomes cancerous, then it has to be treated.
Is it something that is visible, as you say, it may grow?
Visible in the sense of naked eye?
No, in terms of probably the gland growing, or...
Yeah, because for me, when Dr. Paul was my doctor, we used to do regular checks. We do a PSA, which is the blood test.
Yes.
And then you also do the digital rectal exam, which is the one most guys don't want to do.
Yes.
So we were doing this all along. And
so you did this regularly?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I started doing it after Lambert, my brother, died.
Okay.
Lambert had colon cancer. He died at 43,
yes.
so
yes.
that kind of a wake-up call. Yeah.
Yes.
And then...
so would you do it annually, Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Annually?
Every year I went to do my annual checkup. PSA and the DRE was always part of it.
PSA again, what you said it is?
It's a blood test that they do to find out whether there is the what do you call it again? The protein in the blood is too high.
Yes.
Now, the fact that the PSA is rising does not mean that you have cancer.
No.
No, it could be that it's just elevated because the prostate may be enlarged, or some just an abnormality at the moment. So that's why I always say it's better to do the DRE, because that's a more certain thing. Also, you could have a regular
PSA. The DRE is the one
the
through the rectal.
Digital rectal exam.
Okay.
You could also have a normal PSA and have cancer and you don't know. Right? So you cannot just depend on the blood test. The physical examination will, in my case, what happened was, he did every year, and one year he told me, I can feel some grainy stuff on the prostate, which means there's something going there.
Right.
So we got to get it checked further.
Of course.
And to check it further, you got to do a biopsy. So in the biopsy, they take samples and they test it in the lab.
Same through the rectum area?
Yes. They take it through the rectum, go to the prostate, and they nip pieces of it in different spots and test it. And based on the results, they'll tell you whether or not it was cancerous. In my case, it was.
It was.
You had not all of it, but there were quite a few of the samples that were cancerous.
Okay. What was the reaction when, first of all, the doctor told you that he saw some grainy stuff for starters? What was your initial reaction then? And then when you actually did the...
One of my mottos in life is expect the unexpected. So, secondly, by then I think I had two brothers who had prostate cancer, who died of prostate cancer.
You had two brothers?
Who died of prostate cancer.
And one who died from colon?
And then I had another three brothers who had prostate cancer and the prostate removed.
Way.
Yeah.
Wait. Let's pause a moment there, Mr. Henderson. One brother died of colon cancer. Two died of prostate cancer.
Right.
And three others
had prostate removed because of prostate cancer. So
Lord of Jesus.
these were warning signs for me.
Indeed.
So that's why, in a sense, I expected that most likely I would have had the same thing. So when the results came in, of course it shocks you.
Of course.
Normally, but at the same time, I had to mentally prepare myself that the strong possibility that this thing is going to come out being positive. So when I got the results, I spoke to the doctor and we looked at options, and they gave you a choice of options. You can remove it, you can remove part of it. If just areas you feel that are cancerous, they could freeze it. And now the technology is much better. You can radiation and all kind of things, so you don't have to remove the prostate. But I chose to remove it because of the history in the family.
Okay.
Because the question was, well, if I have them treated, will it come back again? If it comes back
you
again,
have to go through that again.
So I say, give more history.
Yeah.
Let's say just remove it. So that's what I did.
And you made that decision.
Yeah.
And it was removed. How soon after did you, after getting the news of the confirmation?
Let's see, about a couple months after. Yeah.
Did you do that in Dominica?
No, I did. The biopsy I did in St. Lucia because I was trying to do it here, but the place was closed. So since I was traveling to St. Lucia, and Neville Graham told me about Dr. Christy Daniel, so I went to him, and he's a urologist. So he did the biopsy, and since he was doing the surgery, so I just said I'm going to stick with him.
So you went to St. Lucia
and did it,
to get it done. What was it like, Mr. Henderson, having to experience that?
I had already accepted the fact that it is what it is. I got a prostate cancer, I got to get this thing removed. So from that standpoint, I was not dwelling on it too much. I went into the hospital on the Saturday, we had the surgery. I stayed there the Sunday night, and then the next day I was out to my guest house and stayed there for a week to get treatment, and then went back, get the stitches removed, and came back home.
And that was it?
Yeah.
And that was how long ago?
2010.
2010? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Tell me how it has been since.
I don't dwell on it. I do PSAs, and it's 0.0 something normally, so it's not something I worry about. I changed my diet because you begin to find out more about cancer causing foods that help the cancer cells grow and foods that retard the growth, and you focus more on the foods that retard the growth and move away from those that it loves sugar. It loves dairy stuff and so on. So I get rid of all this stuff. So I eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, and but continue to live my normal life. Exercise.
Excellent.
Exercise a lot. A positive mental attitude. All those kind of things. Yeah.
What other changes you had to make outside of what you've mentioned to us? Nothing significant.
No.
Diet change, exercise, positive mentality, and all of that.
Yeah. And each person is different. I know of other people who have had this done and then they have problems, blood, other complications. So each individual is different.
But from what I'm gathering from you, though, it is important, for example, to change the diet.
Yes.
That one is a everybody should do that one.
Yeah, because a lot of these processed foods that we eat are the kind of foods that will help the cancer cells grow. So we got to move away from processed foods and eat more of what we grow. We've got everything we need here to survive and to retard the growth of the cancer cells. But we choose not to. We choose to drink the chemicals, the Coke and all these other things, the canned foods, the Kentucky Fried Chicken and all this other stuff that tastes good but are doing damage to our body. What
have you been doing to help educate others in terms of this, men in particular? How have you been reaching out to them?
Well, as soon after I came back from my surgery, the Cancer Society roped me into the board. So I was on the board for a couple of years and worked with them. I think I must have been the only male on the board. Getting men involved is very difficult. So I just took stock with them, and we had the annual walk for cancer. We also had a DRE that we did 1 year in collaboration with Ross University and the Ministry of Health.
DRE?
Digital rectal exam.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again.
So what we did basically was
A drive.
Right, a
Yeah.
drive
Mhm.
nationally.
Mhm.
So we went to all the major health centers throughout the island, and we had the doctors from Ross University and the doctors in the health center help us. We got men together and had them had the DREs done, and we must have done throughout the island. Must have done over close to 2,000 men, and the turnout was good. I was very impressed with it. Most of them were okay. A few of them they had to go get things checked further, but most of them were okay. And we advise men in general, by the time you're 40, you start getting your prostate checked.
And that seems to be important, Mr. Henderson, based on what you're saying, because if you were not doing those annual exams that you started doing, especially once your brother passed, your results could have been worse.
Yeah. I know people who have been to the doctor, they waited and delayed, and by the time they went to the doctor, the PSA was 1,000. The normal PSA is between 0 and, they said between 0 and close to 4, you're okay. And then raise above 4 and going up, you should...
and 1,000 means what, Mr. Henderson, if you're at 1,000?
It's probably gone past the prostate into other organs in the body by then. So the doctors now have to treat it and manage it for you,
but at that point it might be a little too late. How often do you recommend that those exams are done? Is it just annually, every 6 months?
You do your physical exam every year. You just incorporate that into it. That's what I did. That's what most people do. Yeah.
So it does not necessarily have to be every 6 months.
No.
You can can just be part of your annual. And with that annual exam, there is early detection.
Yes, that's what the key.
That saves your life.
Detection.
Yes, that saves your life. And here you are this evening sharing with us, Mr. Henderson. Is that a process that you have continued since your diagnosis?
What, PSA?
No, just encouraging and sharing information and educating.
Yeah. We've been, for the Cancer Society, we have had programs on mapping, when mapping was there. I've been on DBS, I've been on different radio stations, just talking about prostate cancer. We've gone to different, for example, last week, Thursday, we were at Customs, Father Lafleur, myself, and Dr. IP, talking to the Customs guys about getting checked for the prostate cancer. And the interesting thing was that there were about 15 of them there. And when I asked, towards the end, I asked, how many have done a PSA? Most of them, I think, quite a few of them had. See, how many of them have done a DRE? Only 3 of them had. I thought that was funny.
But why do you think there is a reluctance, to get this done?
It's just the uncomfortable. They feel uncomfortable about having somebody stick a finger up their anus. It's a little uncomfortable, but it's just for 20 seconds.
It has to be done.
Yeah.
It has to be done. There are some things that women are not comfortable with, but we know it has to be done. This when we do our pap smear, this cold metal that goes into our vagina is not the best experience.
Right.
It's longer than 20 seconds too, I think. But is it something though that very often you don't find many men who want to talk about it? Is it something that there is any shame in it? Anything to be ashamed about?
Men tend not to want to share this private medical things with people. That's what I think. Because I have met many guys who, when they see, and when I after my surgery, I had lost some weight. So I remember meeting some friend of mine, and I was coming towards him, and I could tell by the expression on his face that he was wondering, how is he getting so small?
Yes.
I say, let me explain to you what happened.
One
this is
time.
what happened. So, and he said, I also had surgery for prostate cancer, but he's not talking about it. So you have many men out here who have had prostate cancer, but they don't want to talk about it. On the other hand, you have others who have called me and said, hey, I heard that you had this, tell me about it, because I think I'm experiencing something. and I talk to them.
So you also serve as a source of information, education, and comfort.
Yes, I do.
Because if a man is concerned about, getting the DRA done, and he calls you and he says, listen, I want to get this done, but, I am not sure, you're in a good place to share and to encourage and to motivate the person to get it done. What do you say to a person who calls you and says, I want to do this, but I'm not so sure? How do you encourage them? How do you move them from thinking about it to, yes, I'm going to get it done?
Well, I got to find out why are they scared. What is it they're scared of, number one. Number two, I got to make them understand that if you don't do it, and this thing gets worse and it's cancerous, and you start getting to a position where you can't tolerate it anymore, and you then have to go to the doctor, and by then it's too late.
Yeah.
So
the too late part is critical.
Yeah. So that's the choice you have. And again, I emphasize the fact that it's a little uncomfortable, but it's nothing. It's just a few seconds. So
it's not the end of the world.
No.
It's definitely not the end of the world. So in terms of this, what is the message here from you in terms of experiencing prostate cancer? Thank God you've been good since 2010, and I think you're going to remain good. Nothing more is going to come your way. What is the message here?
In terms of your life, live a healthy life. I know for me, I try to take a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I encourage everyone to do it. I use a lot of moringa in my because Joey, I need more moringa, so I need more of supply. So I use it in my juices. I also exercise. I tend to do exercise a lot. Do get checked. Early detection is a real key to this whole thing. And if our men begin to do more like the women and get themselves, in fact, the women should be there to push the men to go and get it checked. I think and the children also. I think children are good advocates for that. So if we can get between a combination of the female partner and the child to kind of nudge daddy in that direction, I think it can work.
And so the message is to encourage the men to do their annual checkups. And while we're here, let's encourage the ladies too to get their pap smears done. Annually, you need to get your pap smears done. I had a pap smear done with the doctor had some concerns. And I had to go back and get, another test done. And I had to do not the freezing, but the burning, so they had to burn the cells. And so they were not necessarily cancer cells per se, but there was some kind of cells that could cause some problems. And so, I had to experience that again. It is not the best experience. The initial, similar to you, some things, samples had to be taken from the uterus and sent to the hospital to confirm if the doctor is suspicious based on your pap smear results. So you're sent, you do that. I had it done by the doctor itself. And then, send the results came back that we had some kind of something to be concerned about. And so, we got it done. It was not the best experience, let's put it that way. But, if it has to be done, it has to be done when it has to be done. Because, as you said, this early detection thing, it definitely saves lives. And quite a few people who have died as a result of whatever cancer it is, probably they could have been saved if there was some kind of early intervention. Yes, early intervention. Definitely, Mr. Henderson. 9:54 is the time in the studios. The Dominica Cancer Society, led by Yvonne Alexander, they're doing tremendous work in Dominica. The Walk for Cancer Care is coming up this Saturday, so I'm just going to give you an opportunity to give them a bit of a push here.
Well, I would encourage all Dominicans to support the Walk for Cancer, and I think it's being done in Roseau, and I'm not too sure if in Portsmouth also. I'm not too sure, but it's a way of raising funds, raising awareness, number one, and raising funds for the Cancer Society, because these funds are used to assist cancer patients when they need to go, whether it's overseas or here, to have either chemo or any type of treatment done. The Cancer Society is always there to help them. They never turn down anybody. So the more people who can participate, and the more funds we can raise, and the more cancer patients that we can assist, because some of them, the costs can be high and they really can't afford it. Some of them die because they really can't afford it. So I'm pleading with everyone. So if you can't even walk, make a donation. At least make a donation so that we can continue to support those patients with cancer.
And so, like Mr. Henderson said, if you're not able to walk, make a contribution, no matter how small it is. The thing about life is that, we just never know. We just never know when it could be our turn. And so, as it is not yet your turn, it may never be your turn, but you never know. It could be your turn at some point in time.
Could be a family member. It could be your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your child. Could be any one of them.
It could be a friend. Could be anyone who could end up having some form of cancer, and support of the Dominican Cancer Society would definitely be needed. More so, Mr. Henderson, when we fall ill and we go to the doctor will help, guide, and so on, but in the state that you are, when you find out that you have something like cancer, sometimes you don't know what is the next step to take. And I guess that's where the Dominican Cancer Society comes in providing you that guidance, that support that you need to get to where you need to get to. All right. So yes, the walk is on Saturday. I think there's three starting points. Palm Grove.
I'm not too sure where
Massa. You.
I can't make it because
you're gonna be gone again.
No, I'll be here, but I'll have something else to do. So
okay. But I think it's Point Michelle, Palm Grove, and I have the flyer. It could be Point Michelle, Palm Grove.
There used to be one starting at Massac area coming into
Point Michelle, and I think a new area was added in terms of Palm Grove. So yes, I think that's a good opportunity there for persons to give some kind of support to the Dominican Cancer Society. So, Mr. Henderson, you now reside at Marigot. What is it that you're up to now in terms of supporting your community, supporting your youth, doing the work that you love and enjoy?
Well, since I moved into Marigot, I did a lot of work up there with the young people on the basketball program. In fact, just to go back a little, Ron Green. Well, I started off a basketball program in Wesley and Marigot, and then we had a little running. Then later on, Ron Green and Adrian Banis, he's a Pastor Billy now, Billy Banis. We got together and formed what we call the Rural Eastern Basketball Organizing Committee, and had a basketball league for all the villages, starting from Dalis all the way to Pebush. And so we go from village, we have a team from each village, and they go to the various villages and play. And we ran it for 2 years. And SPAT was one of the sponsors of this. And it got a lot of young people from the various villages to get to know each other and to socialize and so on. But and many of the kids, most of these kids now are overseas and doing well for themselves. In terms of now where I am, I have told the kids in Marigot, if they need me, I'm available. You have to want it. I don't want to thrust anything on you.
Yeah, you're not pushing yourself on anyone.
So if they call me and they need me to do something, then I'll do it. The same thing with the council, they know that I'm available, and I think Mikey Pascal, who's on the council, has asked me to help him with the sports program. My village improvement committee in North End, we are with him. I'm always with them. So whatever they need me to do for them, I do for them. And that's about it for me in the Marigot area.
You also did some work with the village council. Were you on the
yeah.
village council?
I did a Granby Village Council. I did a lot of annual evaluation of the program with them. I did work with the Marigot Village Council. I did work with the Dominican Association of Local Authorities, DALA, when they were, I don't know if they still exist, but when Mr. Elford Henry was the president, I did a lot of work with them. I did work with the Northeast Tourism Committee, NAFCOP, National Association of Free Fish Cooperative. I got them together to put a strategic plan together for the organization. Quite a few others, I don't remember.
It's a Van Village Improvement Committee, Kalinago Council, Biosh Fisheries Group.
Right, all of those I have worked with in the past. And all this is volunteer work, it's not nobody paying me.
It's volunteer work.
Yeah, except NAFCOP, they paid me to do the NAFCOP thing. But most of the others, it's volunteer work. It's just going out there and helping communities.
And that's what you're about.
Yep.
That's what you're passionate about.
That's right.
People.
So you have a generation.
Building.
You have a generation. Our generation is like that.
Yeah.
The generation from the 70s, the SPATs, the CPTOs, the Save the Children, DCA Conservation Association, Arthur Martin, and these guys. This is what this people about, and this is where I think we miss that aspect of our development is missing.
Let us see if we can take some calls. If you would like to have a chat with Mr. Henderson, we can do that as well this evening. Most of you know the numbers already. It's 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. We have the overseas line, which is 1-305-432-9624. Patrick Henderson in the studios of Q95 on the In the Spotlight radio show tonight, and clearly this is a gentleman who understands, who has community spirit built deep within him. He understands what it is to build a community, build up a community, work with young people, support young people, and start off organizations, and like he started off the basketball, helped start off the basketball league and all of that in the community of Granby. So this is someone, within our community that I think those of you who have access to him should take full access of Mr. Henderson. Make the best use of him. He's retired, and he's saying that I'm here to help, I'm here to support, I'm here to guide, and all I'm going to say to you is, you seek me out and you will find me, and I will definitely help you. So this is the person, who is here with us tonight, a prostate cancer survivor. If you do not want to call, you can also just send a message and we can have a chat. Mr. Henderson, you should put on the headphones. Let's see.
Sorry.
Yes, no problem. We're good. If we can take this call right here. Hello, good evening. Good evening to you, sir.
The jockey, I have not seen jockey for years.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
You understand, but I still carry on doing the same voluntary work. Okay?
That's my life, man.
Yes. Because I don't know.
I think maybe for one other previous guest, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, jockey just said, I had to really give him a little call there, I'm sorry to pick up your line like that. I know you have many other people want to call, but I thought I should call and then give a shout out to jockey.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you for that, Mr. G. You're definitely not taking up a line. We do appreciate you calling and making a contribution to Mr. Henderson. Thank you and good night. And by the way, great job with Mrs. Levy earlier on. That's all right, Mr. G. That's all right. That's all right. You're already forgiven for that. Pleasant evening, sir. Pleasant night. All right.
Okay, but thanks. Nice hearing you.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you. We're good.
So, Mr. Henderson.
Hi, sir.
Yes, nice for educating us in the prostate cancer business, because I have been listening to different programs for the past month, which I know that is cancer month.
Okay.
And I have over 6 years, and I was afraid of going to test. And I just decided from last week I going to make an appointment, and I did do this screening today.
That's great.
And I was so surprised to see where, like the doctor, after he made the diagnosis, that I was okay.
Great.
And I thought, well, it was, a dangerous thing, as I heard people were saying. But it didn't take a minute,
Good.
And I'm urging all men, really men, that to go check your prostate. And I think the doctor tell me Newton will be having a clinic on Thursday. So I'm urging all men to go there, because it's very important. You check what I mean? And I mean, why I take all that time, as I said, that not going to take my screening, you know what time it is, I will explain it, but when I really take the diagnosis today, I don't feel nothing, so I find that good. Anyhow, thank you very much.
I have a question for you, caller. Are you there? So what was this one thing, or this one program, or this one person that finally motivated you to go and get the test done?
Well, the Cancer Society of in Goodwill, they had a program, and also at Father Lashley, not Father Lashley, sorry, but his Reverend Lashley was encouraging the people and them, the men and them, to go ahead. And then they are explaining the dangers of it, and so that really, make me go to do the test. Because I was afraid, because when they have to put their finger inside you, I know, how tight it is, It wasn't tight, it was okay, man. I was afraid, because remember, if I tell I passed 60 and it's not like 110, so I was afraid. But then they say, in the kitchen feeling the heat. So I went today, and I don't feel nothing, it's not as people were saying,
Right.
Excellent.
To go in and take their cancer test, take all over and over for.
Well,
Excellent, excellent. And we really appreciate, what you've shared tonight, and encouraging others to do the same. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. This is Dr. Dion George calling from Atlanta. Say how impressed and how thankful I am for this program. And I just want to give my own testimony, if I may.
Of course, go right ahead, Dion.
Yes, my father passed away. It's been 12 years now from prostate cancer. And then he had 6 brothers, and 5 of them passed away from prostate cancer. So, which means I am, I have to be very careful. And I check myself every year. And recently I went and checked again, and the results are very good. And I'm always scared and somewhat uncomfortable to test, but I just want to say thanks to Mr. Henderson for being so open and for giving the information. And I just want myself to encourage all the listeners that it's better to test early. And when you test early, you can save your life. And I think Mr. Henderson is a testimony of that. And so, Mr. Henderson,
Yes,
I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for the program as well, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. If you're calling from overseas, the number is 305-432-9624. And it's interesting, Mr. Henderson. So we've had 3 people call. 2 of them actually shared their own stories, and I see some similarities to the last caller, and your own family situation in terms of your brothers. And I'm saying, you know, it takes us back to the early detection, early prevention, and getting tested. And we cannot cheer, that particular message.
And the gentleman who called the first one about he was being scared to go take the test. I want to encourage him to encourage his friends now that he has done it and has experienced it, to go out there and encourage his friends to get tested too. You know, spread the word, spread the good word.
Yes, and especially during this month, during the awareness of prostate cancer. I mean, now is the time. And I do hope, Mr. Henderson, from our program tonight, that some gentlemen who are listening will be encouraged to go and get tested. I'm not sure if there's, I know that one of the callers mentioned a testing program taking place in Newtown. I'm not sure if there's others, and maybe, you know, Yvonne can share with us, that we can share with them to tell them where they can go.
Well, you could go to any of your health centers and get the test done. I think you can do that.
You can
do the PSA at the health centers. You could also have the DRE done there also.
Okay.
One is free, the DRE.
Just get it done. Just get it done. Especially if you have families, you have children, you know, who need you still. Just get it done. And if it's detected early, then you know you will know what to do. The Dominica Cancer Society is there to provide the support that you need. We're coming back in just a moment.
In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95 FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
One-on-one with interesting personalities, educational and informative topics and issues, intriguing and entertaining. A must listen to. In the Spotlight, Monday nights from 8 p.m. on Q95.
And we are back. We have another caller on the line. Good evening.
Good evening to you, my darling student.
Oh, my dear lady, how are you?
Oh,
I'm blessed. I've been trying to get in touch with you on several occasions and could not find you at all.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry about that.
To the office, I asking them for you. I tell most of the girls to pass my love to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm passing some love to you as well.
And I wish you God continues blessing you, having a wonderful show.
Oh my dear baby.
Okay, thank you. I'm hearing my voice in your background though.
Coming back.
Yes, yes. Did you want to make a contribution, or you were just calling to say hello to me?
I call to say hello to you and to also encourage the men to go and do the test. Because it is not a nice thing to know you have to be suffering with something that can be cured. So I'm encouraging them to go and take the test. And when they are under love making, do not have no women to squeeze their testicles. Breast. Because most of the women cancer is in the breast. Do not have any man to squeeze their breast. Their breast is for their babies to suck. If they have got babies, leave the breast alone. And the men, be careful. The work that you have to do is for the vagina and have no woman to squeeze all the testicles. Now to play with the penis too much, because nowadays there's a lot of these things happening. Cancer. So we have to be careful. And I am happy to hear the young man who's speaking there tonight about the cancer. And it's a warning for all the Dominican men. No matter what is your status, whether you big or small, go and do the test. And so then you know what I laugh at night? I listen to your program all the time. It's when Spat John, do you remember when Spat John was at your program?
Yes, ma'am.
I tried to call you on many occasions, but I could not get you. I laughed so much. But I will talk to you another time when we meet. So enjoy the best of your program. God continue to bless you, guide you, protect you, and direct your every path. And I claim that precious blood of the Lamb of God from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. He gave you wisdom to educate people. It's not politically, but from the depth of your heart. So continue that fantastic job you're doing, and may God continue to bless you. Have a wonderful night and a blessed week.
Thank you so much, Mommy. Yes, and you. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Love you. Thank you. All right. So, all right. We're going to do this as we're getting ready to wind up.
Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. For always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a possession in the changing fortunes of time. The universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace.
What is it about Desiderata?
I think there are important messages in it about ourselves and about life. That if we take the time to reflect on it we will find that there's a lot of good that can come onto us by taking in seriously some of the words that are expressed in this poem.
Thank you for the copy as well. I appreciate it. Mr. Henderson, we're getting ready to wrap things up on the program this evening. Anything of relevance that we probably didn't get to mention that we can mention now, and then we get your final comments.
There are things, but I can't really put them all together now. But I would just like to say that one of the areas for me in particular that I have enjoyed thoroughly in my life is working not just in communities, but with in the 80s of the NGO sector, which was broad, it was big at the time, and the NGOs really led the way in community development and community empowering. I wish we could bring this back. I don't see it now, and because of that, our communities are really helter-skelter in a sense. The NGOs have been weakened. Civil society in general have been weakened, and we have the personnel here in Dominica to do it, because a lot of the people who were involved in it are still there. But because the organizations are not functional again, then everything has fallen apart, and I see our communities kind of in a balance. So
is that something you would like to get involved in?
Well, yes. I mean, if I would like to see that we re-energize the whole CBO and NGO, the community-based organizations and non-government organizations in the country, because they are the key to really mobilizing the community to do for themselves. And if we can do that, then I think we head in the right direction.
Okay.
I'm concerned about our youth and where they are right now, and because of the lack of this input from the CDUs and the NGOs, I think they are missing something.
I know we're wrapping up, but you just mentioned you're concerned about the youth. What are the elements of your concern?
I don't see the kind of programs that get them focused on their own growth and development. I see more of a kind of a vet kind of thing, a good time kind of thing, and that's all we're concerned about. And maybe that's what it is, and that's the way it is, and cannot change. But I don't see debates among our schools or young people about issues, national issues, regional issues, international issues. I don't see that. I don't see our youth engaged in communities. Youth groups organizing, doing things, collaborating with local government, the church, the sports group. I don't see that happening.
Then and now, Mr. Henderson, then and now. Technological advancements and everything else.
It reminds me of
the opportunities are not presenting themselves. Who knows?
It reminds me of the song Internet Children.
Yes,
so,
yes.
I mean, yeah. But we can use the technology to change this also. So.
Agreed. Your final words, sir, as we wrap it up.
Okay, well, I'd say thank you for having me on the program.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome.
And
it was a wonderful conversation.
Thanks. I would like to encourage, going back to the Cancer Society, I would really like to encourage our men to get checked. I mean, we can avoid a lot of the problems that we see in cancer and the health services here related to cancer. If more of our men would get checked. I'd like to encourage also, because again, my community development background, that we are each other's keeper. I think we need to focus more on caring for each other rather than getting at each other. We need to pay special attention to our health and well-being. We take care of everything. We get our cars serviced every so often, and we do this and that. When it comes to our own personal health, we tend to just ignore it, and I think we really need to reflect on that and see how we can begin to change that. And I think we need to also keep a healthy balance as human beings in our spiritual, our physical and our mental growth. If we can balance these three, eat healthy, grow what we eat, I think we have a better society.
Patrick Henderson, our guest tonight on the In the Spotlight radio show. Really, really appreciate your presence and being brave enough to, I know you've been doing it, but just being brave enough to share your survival story and being a mouthpiece to some extent for the Dominica Cancer Society and helping them to spread the word, spread the message in getting tested. Early detection saves lives and all of that amazing work that they're doing. So it was a pleasure to have you here tonight. I really appreciate it. Yvonne Alexander, good evening to you and the folks at the Dominica Cancer Society, encouraging everyone as much as you're able to make a contribution, get a t-shirt and walk on Saturday for cancer care. That is a wrap. I'm sorry. COVID again. Thank you again, sir, and thank you for listening, everyone. It was an absolute pleasure being here tonight. We'll be back here next Monday, God spare, for another In the Spotlight radio show. Until then, have a good night, everyone, and may God continue to watch over all of us, especially as we sleep.
The Spotlight. We would love to hear from you. If you have suggestions of